Right, okay. So I'm going to use one of these that I've started already. I think perhaps use this one. This was an acrylic demo that I started last week in my Tuesday class, and then I've worked a little bit to paint, so I did the one there. So that's that one. But that was nearly there, so I thought I'd start another one. Just quite curious to try this one. And this is just on the back of a bit of cardboard, so it's going to be a little bit more absorbent than before. I think what I'll do is, so next week there's no class, I'm having a 1 week break next week, and then back the week after. So I thought I'd do one more week on the kind of flowers project, but I thought I'd do something more kind of landscapey. So that was my little picture that I did at, on Sunday with the Southend Plein Air group. So I thought maybe do something about blossom trees. So that's more the kind of subject I'm more comfortable painting with than portraits of flowers. That was acrylics, but to be honest, I pretty much paint the same way in oils as acrylics. So this one I sketched out a week or so ago, and I'll find some acrylics, which I've got here. I find with these kind of bright pinky flowers, I even need something like a rose or a magenta in my palette. Otherwise, it's just really difficult to get those particular pinks. These, I think, some of them are quite pinky here, but this bit is a little bit more orangey, so there's going to be a mixture there. I'm tempted to just put like a thin wash on to start with. So using some magenta and some of the it's like the cadmium red mixed together. And I'll start with just a wash. One thing I found more recently with the acrylics is some of my boards, when I put the acrylic on, the only way I can get it to go on is if I put it on fairly thickly, otherwise it seems to resist them a little bit. So it must be something to do with the primer I'm using. So with this one, I decided to work on acrylic paper, and that meant that I could paint quite thinly and then go over with slightly thicker paint. So I don't know if that's just the primer I'm using or what it is, but so I don't know if I can. Yeah, I'd quite like to be able to just get a wash on with just a bigger brush. I'm hoping that the line drawing will stay in place and not completely wash out, which it might do because it's hassle. No, it's going to start. I'm going to start to lose it, I think so. Now maybe I'll just work a certain area at a time then. So I'll just work this area here. I'm going to go in a little bit darker with these darker shadows. So some magenta and some ultramarine, and a little bit white. Get a nice strong pinky colour. With the acrylics, I find that they dry quite dark anyway. They'll dry darker than they appear on the palette. So sometimes I've ended up painting something in and then having to go over it a little bit lighter. So that's probably where some of the darks are going to go. And the other thing I found painting this one was actually just sort of painting one petal at a time seemed to work quite well, because it meant that I still had time to blend colours while they were wet. So that can be this outside edge, and I'll now add a little bit of light into that, so just lighten that up a little bit. Make it a little bit more pinker as I come round. So just using a magenta here. And that just sort of lightens up. And then this area here to me is a lot more orangey, so I'll go to more orangey mix. Again, the card is absorbing quite a lot of the moisture. which, yeah, I don't mind that. That helps to work quicker. So kind of getting some of those darker background reds in. This area in the middle, I might just work some of that in as well. So that is much darker. We've got here some purple, some blue, maybe a little bit of green, just to make a nice dark colour out of all the dark colours. A little bit of brown in there. So there's an area that's fairly solid. And then while that's still damp, I can just soften that out into the other area. There's some darker kind of markings in the concrete. So I'll make those. Let's just go back to the even darker. So soften that in. And then this edge here needs to be nice and light. Just clean the brush a little bit. And add some white to my bright mix. Get a nice sharp edge here. So come around here, probably just soften that out with my fingers a little bit. So I'll get a softer blend and a little bit more red in there. So it's sort of possible to get softer blends if you like that, which I do. I don't necessarily want everything too sharp. Yeah, so that'd be that kind of passage through, basically with the same like these areas. And then once you get the greens in, put a little bit of green there because that will start to push that out. I think that's green. See the green around that one's probably green. So just using a green out the tube, maybe darken that a little bit of purple in that to darken it. Yeah, because it's quite dark, and then I can kind of cut in and adjust that shape slightly as I go if I want to, just with the background colours. And then, yeah, you can see good contrast then. With this one, I just kind of work my way around the edges, and then it's quite nice just sort of softening the paint out a little bit, so that it's not, so some of the background tone showing through. I quite like that area there. I quite like to keep some of the brushwork showing. So that's a little bit of experimenting with acrylics and flowers, which isn't the subject I've done masses of really. Any questions?
You can put acrylic on any paper, can't you?
You can really, yeah.
That's
This
acrylic
is
paper.
no, it's just a bit of cardboard, the back of another one.
Yeah.
I think it's the back of a sketchbook or something like that, or a bit of playboard. That's what it is really. It's just what I happen to have, and I just want to try on something a little bit more absorbent rather than the boards that I've primed. It may be just the primer I'm using. Yeah, I just had difficulty with it. But okay, right, let's